Hey guys, welcome to my review of Castlevania Adventure from 1991 on the Nintendo Gameboy with me, Roscoe. As the high score is allegedly 10,000 points. So first off, I think the graphics on this game are pretty good. You know, the Game Boy had a limited palette, limited graphic abilities really. Obviously it excelled at things like Tetris, which didn't stretch it very far. But this game does pretty well. Obviously, I don't know if it's Simon or Christopher Belmont, one of the Belmont family anyway, as the mantle in this game. There's no features on his face whatsoever. It's just like a smooth face, rather like the bad guy from Harry Potter. I'm struggling to remember what his name is right this minute. He who shall not be named, whatever his name was. But yeah, it looks a bit like him. The background, as we get to this bit, isn't particularly exciting. Obviously there's a pattern in the background, there's a pattern, a texture, whatever you want to call it, for a floor. The baddies, as a rule, aren't particularly badly designed. The character moves pretty well. I don't think he's particularly well animated for the jumping. He jumps crouching all the time. But graphically, I don't think they've done too bad. Konami, however you want to pronounce that word. Konami. I think they've done alright. The candles flicker nicely. They burn up nicely when you whip them. I think the so-called mountain in the background could do with a bit more inspiration, but you know, it is a Game Boy game. You know, they're only talking a few kilobytes basically for each ROM. So, I mean, the trees in the background look pretty good, I think. You know, the shading they've used with what they had available, they've done pretty well. The other standout feature for me on all Castlevania games, I hated these crows playing this back. I did rubbish against them, and the bats that come up in a little bit. The other standout feature, anyway, for me is the sound. I think the Castlevania series rightly has a good reputation for a good soundtrack. You know, it gets a lot from what's available. On the Game Boy, it was pretty limited, to be fair. They did a lot better on Super Castlevania 4 or whatever it was called on the Super Nintendo, but that did have quite a good sound chip on it. And that was a really bad time in there. I think I get this little candle now. Not sure. There's a timer going at the top, so I presume obviously 12 minutes is your limit per level, and I'm guessing though time didn't run out for me. These eyeballs look quite good graphically. I think they rotate pretty well, really. Yeah, I'm guessing that the timer means you'll die if it runs out. I can only presume so. I can't see any of the reason why they'd put a timer on there. Gameplay wise, it's Castlevania basically. You jump, you walk. I've not worked out if you can run on this basically, but you walk and jump your way through the level. I have to say, I do find the actual platforming part of the gameplay, the jumping and landing on, precision landing on stuff, I find a bit of a pain in the bum. I quite like that stump of a tree in the background, looks quite nice, and the crosses, I'm presuming it's supposed to be a graveyard of some description, it appears to be a headstone of some sort there. I think the jumping is its Achilles heel basically in the whole game. Graphically I think it's pretty tidy. There is a little bit, I mean, gameplay wise I do get frustrated in a bit, you'll see why. Graphically I've got no complaints. Sound wise there's no complaints either. You know, I think for a Game Boy, can't remember any Game Boy kind of cocked up there. Should have really got that candle, to be honest. But sound wise and graphics wise, I've got no issues with the Game Boy, with Castlevania. I'm struggling to think of any game that really does it a lot better. I mean, I've recently played through Super Mario Land, which was a launch title. I do think of all the people who release a launch title, I think, you know, the platform owners, as in Nintendo in this case, I think the mountains look really nice in the back there. I think Nintendo should have done better with Super Mario Land. Gameplay wise it was fantastic, it was very enjoyable, it was nicely different to Super Mario. This is the bit where it's really tricky, in my opinion. This is only level 1, remember, and I died. So there we go, I'm starting from the beginning of a little bit here, which I thought was really quite poor, to be honest. It's very unforgiving, the platforming bit. The jumping sections in this, in my opinion, and I consider myself not necessarily an expert on platform games, but certainly semi-professional. I've played a lot on different platforms, and it's very difficult and very unforgiving. But going back to Super Mario Land briefly, I thought why I just looked at that then and didn't whip it, I don't know. I thought graphically and sound wise, orally, it was quite poor, to tell you the truth. Gameplay wise it was great. I cocked up shit getting that guy as well. Gameplay wise I thought it was fantastic. Very enjoyable. Not mega difficult, to tell you the truth. I mean, I managed to finish the last 2 worlds, levels, whatever you want to call them. The last 2 levels without, I think I got hit once, I didn't even die at all. I hit once in 2 levels. It's not, I think the penultimate level, this is where I got really screwed up on this. And I've actually edited out my first attempt at getting to the bad guy here, to be honest, because it's quite laborious, and I repeated the whole thing again, and I only did it fractionally better at taking on the baddie at the end. But yeah, Super Mario Land was a bit of a disappointment in retrospect. I mean, at the time I wasn't very old when these came out. What was it, 23 years ago? So I was only 12 myself. These bats were a proper pain in the backside, to be honest. So I was only about 12 anyway. At the time, with nothing to compare it against, I thought Super Mario Land looked fantastic, but in retrospect it wasn't. This game and another one that sprang to mind was Navy Seals. Were much better looking. Navy Seals was quite disappointing sound wise, but graphically it was pretty good. This took a lot of standing on the edge of the, theoretically off the edge of the blocks, and a lot of good timing basically to get past it. And I thought it was a bit pointless, to be honest. I didn't really understand why it was made so difficult. I mean, I'm not a beginner at platform games, and I was playing this with a joypad, and you can see the trouble I'm having, which is probably the reason why it's not a game I would go back to very readily, to be honest. I will have a look at Castlevania 2, which came out on the Game Boy. And it's basically pot luck on this, because it's not, in my opinion, immediately obvious where the limit of your standing on the edge of the blocks, if you will, before you need to press the jump button and get moving on. And as you've just seen there, there's 2 blocks which don't reappear, which will collapse once you jump on them. So the whole thing's quite tricky, to be honest, unnecessarily so in my opinion. And now we're at the end of level 1. I mean, it doesn't take a long time to get to level 1, but it's unnecessary. Those last few blocks I think are unnecessarily hard in my opinion. Anyway, this guy seems to stab his thing at you. Doesn't seem to like having his health taken off him when I've hit him twice so far. And I've got 1 bar off him, 2 bars, 3, 4, 5. I suppose if I'd been a little bit more patient, I'd have done it. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching my review of Castlevania on the Nintendo Game Boy, and I hope to catch up with you all soon. Take it easy. Bye.